From the PEP Radio Newsroom, this is Lunch Hour News Blast. LGBTQ Nation is reporting that the Department of Justice has reached a legal settlement with parents of trans children who sued after the DOJ issued a subpoena to the Children's Hospital of Los Angeles, demanding the medical information of 3,000 young patients who had received puberty blockers or hormone therapy. The initial subpoena sent to 20 medical providers last year demanded the young patients' addresses, social security numbers, medical diagnoses, prescriptions, all documents affirming any parental authorization to receive gender-affirming care, and other information. The DOJ said that its subpoenas sought to prevent healthcare fraud and off-label use of puberty blockers and hormones to treat youth gender dysphoria, though the same medications have been safely used for decades to treat precocious puberty and rare cancers in children. Last November, 7 parents sued the Department of Justice to protect their families' private medical information. The January 22nd settlement agreement allows Children's Hospital of Los Angeles to redact at a minimum all information on any patients and family members, including all names, addresses, birth dates, and any numbers related to Social Security, healthcare accounts, telephones, vehicles, email addresses, license plates, and internet locations. The agreement also prohibits the Department of Justice from issuing additional similar subpoenas from Children's Hospital of Los Angeles until 2029. The CHLA hasn't provided any of the subpoena documents to the Department of Justice, and the DOJ has never produced any evidence of healthcare fraud or harm to youth from gender-affirming healthcare, despite the current presidential regime's dishonest and vilifying claims. The parents have moved to have the entire subpoena revoked. It was basically a fishing expedition, said Khadijah Silver, Director of Gender Justice and Health Equity at Lawyers for Good Government, one of the firms representing families in the class action lawsuit, according to Cal Matters. Without any probable cause, the DOJ did not have the authority to be seeking medical information. Numerous federal courts have issued recent rulings against the subpoenas, saying that they amount to an attempt to intimidate and harass medical providers with no real judicial purpose. Despite the legal victory, CHLA closed its Center for Trans Youth and Health Development last July under pressure from the U.S. president. The center was the largest of its kind in the United States. The president's executive order pledged to illegally withhold congressionally approved federal funding from any medical institutions that provide gender-affirming care. Numerous gender-affirming clinics for youth have shut down nationwide in response to the administration's threats, including Phoenix Children's Hospital, University of Chicago Medicine, Stanford Medicine, Children's Hospital Colorado, Children's Healthcare of Atlanta, and others. Gender-affirming care is supported by all major medical associations in the United States, including the American Medical Association, the Endocrine Society, and the American Academy of Pediatrics, as safe and life-saving for young people with gender dysphoria. A recent study following young trans patients for a decade found that 97% of trans youth don't regret transitioning. Though there is no federal law banning gender-affirming care, the current presidential administration has sought to eradicate the practice through a January executive order that has since been blocked by several courts. The order instructed the DOJ to extend the time that patients and parents can sue gender-affirming doctors and to use laws against false advertising to prosecute any entity that may be misleading the public about the long-term effects of gender-affirming care. In April, Pam Bondi issued a memo to Department of Justice employees telling them to investigate and prosecute cases of minors accessing gender-affirming care as female genital mutilation, even though hospitals don't conduct such female genital surgeries. The memo threatened to jail doctors for 10 years if they provide gender-affirming care to young trans people. Additionally, the Department of Justice sought information about the providers' employees and their correspondence with pharmaceutical manufacturers, marketing departments, and sales representatives as well as other sensitive information dating back to January of 2020. Fewer than 3,000 teens nationwide receive puberty blockers or hormone replacement therapy, according to a 2025 Journal of the American Medical Association analysis of private insurance data. One doctor interviewed by the Washington Post called the federal government's crusade against gender-affirming care a toxic plan that will force some patients to detransition, potentially forcing them into adverse psychological and physical effects, including increased anxiety, depression, and the development of unwanted physical changes. That's the news blast for this hour. Up next, we have the Meadville area weather forecast here on PEP Radio.